Okay, 3, 2, 1. Hi there, I'm Dani Henderson, and my guest today is the globally known, beautiful surgeon and female gynecologist, and oh, so much more, Dr. Christiane Northrup. Hello, my darling. How are you today?
I'm great. Thank you. We had sun today, and it's the first day of spring, and it's a new moon, and we enter the season of Aries. So it's really like a new beginning in a huge way.
It is a new beginning, and I know we're all looking for that. We're looking for hope, and we're looking for healing on the planet. We're looking for our ascension to be what we believe it to be. We're looking for all of the systems on the planet that don't work for us to be a thing of the past, and all the love and frequency that we are to really raise, and for us to feel safe and blessed and a part of this together. There's certainly a lot of conversations and chat about different healing modalities on the planet, and you and I were having a private conversation private the other day, and I was passing information to you of information I'd heard, because we all want the healing that we want, and everyone talks about med beds and but promoting something, but on the med bed people are so like what's so sad to me, when somebody sells something, there's so many different products right now on this heals and this heals and this heals, and that's always been the way. And we're just so keen. There's so many damaged people on the planet. There are so many damaged children, and this is the biggest heartbreak for me, is these little ones who are such a target for dark technology, of which there are several, and it's so innocent. The parents, that's the love, that's their everything, that they want to protect the children. And then there's people who they're like, right, I'm going to set up a workstation, I'm going to buy this technology, and they are absolutely coming from the greatest love. The greatest
Absolutely.
love.
Yes.
How do you feel about that?
Well, if you think about it, why did people get this thing? Most of them did it because they thought that it was the way we would get back to normal.
Mm-hmm.
And their anger was at those of us who questioned that, because we were seen as preventing others from getting their lives back. And so when you're in that mindset, and we know, because I knew at the time, this is absolute delusion. It's delusion. You're being gaslit at a level you can't even imagine. But how did I know that? Because I had about 35 years of questioning all kinds of things in my practice, and then in my books and my lectures and so on. I mean, for years and years, I questioned clamping the umbilical cord, circumcising baby boys, getting mammograms. I mean, let me give you an example. I was once in San Diego, this was years ago, and I announced from the stage that I'd never had a mammogram. The women went out of their minds. I mean, the ladies' room was pandemonium. Why? Because they had been convinced that the mammogram was keeping their breasts safe, you see. And I was removing a technology that they were certain they needed in order to do the thing that you're taught, which was the narrative back then. The gospel, according to medicine, is early detection. And only later did we learn that there are many things that you will die with, but never die from. And one of those is ductal carcinoma in situ of the breast, which they're calling stage 0 cancer, and it's not cancer at all. It's about 99.99% never go on to become anything. And a mammogram will often pick that up and then tell the woman that she has breast cancer. And then because of surveillance fatigue, so the woman is told, you have pre-cancer, you have cancer stage 0. Now she's scared to death for her life, and then is talked into bilateral mastectomy for prevention. The number of bilateral mastectomies, and I remember because there was a big article by Angelina Jolie, who had, I think, invested in one of the genetic companies to tell if you had the BRCA gene. So anyway, bilateral preventive mastectomies went up 400%. And if you look at the history of medicine, let's look at diethylstilbestrol. That was given to women in the 60s for nausea of pregnancy. And that caused DES daughters, the female offspring of those who had this given to them, this drug, had abnormalities in their genitals, the same with the boys, that often precluded having babies or premature births and all of that. And then the other one that most people watching this are not old enough to remember is the thalidomide scandal. And this was a drug made in Germany, and it caused limb defects in the children. Well, many just were aborted and died, but of those who lived, there were thousands born with no arms and no legs, or, you know, fingers coming out of their shoulders and that kind of thing. Once they knew that this was happening, it took 3 years to get that off the market. And what I want to say, as someone who's been on the front lines of health for so long, my initial pronouncements about these things have never been met with open arms. Generally, it's irritating to people when I would tell them, your little boy does not need a circumcision. They do not need 40,000 nerve endings removed from an organ in the body known as the prepuce. And it's torturous procedure, and we have to lay them down on a circumstraint. Literally, they're crucified like Christ, and then with no anesthesia, remove the most sensitive part of their body within the first 3 days of life. Do you think that this has an effect on their relationships with women later? You bet it does. But no, and when I would tell men this, here's what would happen. The men, they start pounding their foot, you know, the knee would start bouncing up and down, or the hands would do this because the body has the trauma. And they would say, well, I certainly don't remember it, and I want my son to look like me. So let me just be clear with everybody. If you're a Monday morning quarterback and you can look good, and you look back and say, oh yeah, you were right. That's an easy position to be in. Let me give you the hard position. Seeing it before everyone else does, and feeling compelled to let them know. Except that at this point, Dani, I don't know if I can change my soul contract. I think I will, but starting tonight, let this be the last time that I bring news to people that is like what I did. I remember with the thing, you know, way back at the beginning, when we knew this was starting to be rolled out, my esteemed colleague, Dr. Larry Palevsky, this wonderful pediatrician who, like me, had been past president of the American Holistic Medical Association. Larry was talking with a Canadian group, and they asked him about the thing. And he says, well, do you want the long answer or the short answer? And he said, well, I'll start with the short answer. It's a murder weapon. And we were saying that, and we couldn't stand that we were saying that. Our 5 docs group, Lee Merritt, Carrie Made, Sherry Tenpenny, me, Larry. And we were saying, we don't want to be right. We wish we weren't right. Please understand, people. We're doing everything in our power to warn you. And so that's been, I want people to know, it's a well-worn path in my life, and I wish it weren't.
You know, and you the Hippocratic Oath, do no harm. You are one of the leading female surgeons on this whole planet. You have changed the face of female gynecology, of feminine health, of mental well-being, of so many things. Your influence is global. It is global, you know, and sometimes, you know, we get put in positions that we really don't want to be in, and you know, sometimes our face and name is inappropriately put out for, and it happens to many different people with influence. And I look at those who we who we are influenced by. We're like, well, if it's okay for them, it's okay for them. I was telling someone yesterday that there's a woman, a public woman who I'm friends with, and you know, I would always check on Facebook. Well, if she's a friend, they would send me a friend. I'm like, well, if she's connected, then I guess that's okay. What a nightmare. It's love
I know,
and love.
right?
It's friends with everyone and doesn't do any checking or any discerning. It took me a while to learn that. You know, that's just the way this lovely girl rolls, but that's not for me. So then I pulled back and then I was more discerning for myself, you know. But it is, you know, with the greatest love and compassion to humanity, we are all looking for ways to heal and to heal our brothers and our sisters. And there are many different ways that we are captured and that we are betrayed. And it doesn't mean that the people who are putting technology out there and saying what they're saying, that they even know. I'm not saying that these people who come to our attention with certain healing technologies are knowingly harming. No, I'm not saying that at all. I actually don't believe that. I think these are really lovely people who are just so invested in helping humanity and coming from such a loving space. And this information has come in. And so what do we do with it? Do you and I, for example, friends in the background, right, who love humanity, we have the same core passion, do we sit back and just go, oh, well, at least we'll be all right? That hasn't worked for humanity. That's how so many, right? That model doesn't work, my love.
Well, and I would say that had my colleagues spoken up early on, we wouldn't be in a situation where some of the best stocks you can buy right now have to do with funeral services. We wouldn't if people, but it is so much easier, right? What do they say? You know, who are the pioneers? Those are the ones with the arrows in their heads. There are the sort of the lead people like you and I, and then there are the people who wait and it's to see if it's safe, and they come out and they say, oh yeah, I knew that way back, I just didn't want to say anything.
You mean the cowards?
I don't have a lot.
You mean the cowards?
Yeah, they're the cowards.
Yeah.
yeah.
Come on, listen, we put ourselves out there, you know, in a meaningful, loving way. And people tread on you just to check it out, you know, use your name. It's happened many times. It's happened to our friend Alex Collier. How many times has he been pimped out over 32 years? And people, you know, people sold tickets saying, oh, Alex Collier will be there, a beautiful veteran, a veteran of, you know, information on the planet, that he had the courage by himself to say, listen, there are other species here. They're a dark reptilian species. We know NASA says the opposite. We know all your governments say the opposite. They're all liars, people. Why would they want you, humanity, to be empowered with the actual knowledge of your planet, what's happening off planet, and who's making deals with who? You know, this little elite group.
Did I hear this correctly? I think on one of your webinars, Dani, that there have been 2 million humans who were abducted by these negative aliens. 2 million humans abducted by these aliens. Now, Alex was abducted by wonderful Andromedans and had an amazing experience. And
it was a contact. Remember the abductee and the contactee? His was a contactee.
The contactee. Okay, good. So I think most people can't get their head around the ET agenda. And Alex has said repeatedly, and I only learned about the ET agenda through you. I mean, I knew about Stephen Greer's disclosure work, and I knew about Whitley Strieber, his book from way back, that now I realize he was showing a gray alien on the cover of that book. I remember seeing it for the first time way back, was compelled to go buy it and read the whole thing. But that was the extent of my, you know, I'm not one of those people, you know, there's a lot of people that can't wait to go up in a spaceship. It's like, no thanks.
But see, right there, stop, darling, if I can interrupt you. You it's like, this is what happens in humanity. This is our programming. This is the very deliberate in vitro, in the womb, then we're born, and we are immediately being programmed from day one until we die. We are programmed not to think or to question. We are programmed to only look at authority outside of ourselves. Now, let's say that people are on YouTube and they go, oh, there's a video with Dr. Christiane. I love her. That's normally the response you get. Trust me, I know. And then you and I are talking about technologies on the planet that are negative. There's several types of them. People are so meaningful. They're so lovely. Oh my God, they mean the very best. And then you start talking about aliens and they go, switch off. And then they put you, like they put me, and I really don't mind, it's okay, into a category of, oh no, she's lost her mind. She's talking about aliens. But what you and I are doing is we are addressing that this technology was off-planet technology. And there is so much proof and evidence, physical evidence, documentation. And now we're in another scalar frequency healing modalities. There are several of them. Scalars are normal, they're natural in the world, but it's how you use them. Now, I also want to say to people that you need proof, people, you need evidence. Put your Cheetos down, right? Do some research. Seriously, it's so annoying. They're like, prove it to me. You know, Dr. Christiane's been out there for over 30 years, right? Standing up for health, well-being, good, clean medicine. And you know how she got rewarded, people out there watching? You look up Wikipedia. Yeah, Wikipedia. Oh, it's all true what they say on the internet. Really? Look up Wikipedia. It says she's one of the most prolific conspiracy theorists. Up yours, CIA. They're all going to pay those agencies that they're corrupted, really beautiful, good people. You know, if I had a child with autism, let's say, and I had, you know, heard something negative about something I was going to do, I'll be absolutely devastated. It makes me want to cry, absolutely devastated. Our duty, you and I, for example, we know is to share information so at least people can have a little thinky dink. Where does this come from? See, if you said to me, Dani, oh my God, I went inside this cubicle machine. It was like a med bed. It was amazing. And it had water in it and lights flashing and la, la, la. And I'm like, how did you feel? I felt great. I'd be like, oh my God. Well, if you did it, I can do it. And it's firsthand. Mm-hmm. People around the world, you know, oh, free healings here, free healings there. Oh yeah, let's do it. Fred did it. Bill did it. Great. But what people tend not to do is go back to the source of origin. What is the source of origin? Where did it come from? Are all of these kinds of technologies the same? Are they altered frequency-wise? Now, people that create technology that, you know, have a long-term plan, we're talking thousands of years, hundreds of years. There are beings on the planet that intend to continue the harvesting of the human energy. And when people also, for goodness sake, it's not about ego. The humans, we are the most beautiful, advanced technology on the planet. Why do you think we have been so repressed and shut down? Why do you think people want to control our health, our mental well-being? Like all of these things, we need to start thinking about these. They want it because we are the most beautiful, valuable, high frequency model of excellence anywhere in this solar system. And it has been proven. And so there are negative potentials that want to come in and, you know, harvest that. And so
I know it.
I'm going to live another day. You know,
here's the thing.
Yeah.
That's the same as narcissistic supply in a relationship with another human. So let's be clear, what we're talking about here is your energy. We all need to ask, where is our energy going? I have made a pact with myself here on this first day of spring, and that is to make sure that I reserve more of my energy for me.
Yeah.
And not be squandering it trying to save everybody.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's exhausting. But I understand that you have tried in many, many different ways your whole entire life, and you've created great healings and modalities and methods.
Yeah.
And You know,
Yeah.
I mean, girl,
True.
let's not shrink down. Thank you. Yes, that's true. It's like owning. You know, your book, Goddesses Never Age. I mean, there's so many people that say, oh my God, I read her book years ago. This was amazing. That was amazing. I mean, your body of work, again, just, you know, heraldic, you know, and so therefore your influence is, you know, what it is today.
Mhm.
And, you know, you're not going to fall on the sword for anyone. You're not going to sacrifice yourself for anyone. And if you have information, which you've proven this is who you are, that you're not going to take the chance that that could be true. And then you are literally putting harm out into the field, right? That's not who you are, or me. So
That's
we
right.
just come to the level of discernment. Then what do we do? What do we do with that?
Can you talk a little bit about, because I've been reading Elena's book, The Cedars,
Mm-hmm.
and I've been reading how the Orion Hive, the Hive Queen, was removed, and therefore this particular group is no longer connected to the Hive Queen, so they don't have any power. But one of the things that I've learned from you recently is that even though they're off planet, there were some systems that were left in place so that they could somehow still harvest the energy of people on the planet through humans. I would say it must be humans who were trained or were procurers or something. MK Ultra recruiters. Yeah, recruiters. Yeah.
And yeah, MK Ultra, a lot
Yeah.
of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I'm in my office. It's on the other side of the office, but the book you refer to, The Cedars, which is called The Return of the Gods. And for people, again, you know, suspend judgment here, because when we refuse to suspend judgment, because we go into a program where we've been mind controlled to not accept the reality that there are other beings on and off our planet. And I would say to you guys, do you believe in gods, angels, fairies? You know, if you can even go there because you have a religious programming, then of course you can open your mind to other possibilities too. You know, people decide to switch off, but they really need to take responsibility now for recognizing in the moment, are they open or are they going to shut down like a sheep and be owned as they've been owned their entire life? And it's not great to hear. Nobody wants to think, oh my God, I'm a Muppet. I've been owned my whole life. I didn't realize it. Yes, you have, unfortunately, but now's our opportunity. So the hive mentality. So I'll tell you exactly where it was as well. So when you look up at Orion's belt, you've got 1, 2, 3. And we know that those stars are also aligned with the pyramids at Giza on the Giza platform, right? One of them is slightly off to the left. So that was figured out a long time ago. So if you, viewer, go outside and you look at Orion's belt, 1, 2, 3, you look at the middle star, and then you travel all the way to the left. Keep going left, and the first star you hit is kind of a pinky reddy hue. That star is Betelgeuse or Betelgeuse, another, right? They tell you what they're doing. Remember, they drop the names in, they give you the hints, right? We know that. And so there was a massive gray, there's a couple of different groups of gray terrestrials, and reptilian, draconian. I'll give you the name here. The Jiansha are some of the worst soul harvesting reptilians, reptoids on our planet, and you'll see them represented cloaked, hooded. For example, the Jiansha, and they're not on planet currently, but they have a lot of connections here. So this hive was created, Greys are connected to it, and they are all programmed to feed the queen. And the Pleiadians and members of military factions, good military factions, in a group, a collective that's known as the Galactic Federation of Worlds, not light, not airy fairy light that's not consistent or concrete or something out there as a concept, worlds. Meaning what? That there are other beautiful brothers and sisters from other parts of our solar system who are very aware of the danger that humanity was under. And isn't it lovely how many millions of people are never going to even know what's been going on? How lovely for them, right?
No, they won't. Yeah, that's right.
Most of it's done, right?
Yep.
So there was a hive, there was a queen. Again, it sounds so bloody Star Trekky. You know, even I had issues with this. I'm like, oh, come on, John. You know, you're smoking too much. These are the programmed responses that us humans are programmed heavily with. This hive queen, hive mentality was taken down. And there is so much proof online. And if your next response is where, you can go ahead and look up someone's channel, for example, that like ElenaDanan.org, Elena, D-A-N-A-A-N, Danan.org. Be very careful. There's a lot of YouTubers, like people that like want to make something of the space thing, but they're living in fantasy world. And it's dangerous to not know the difference. But I guess some people do a journey and they come back. But anyway, hive mentality dismantled. But within that technology, with some of the ingredients, the off-planet ingredients that were put in to certain medicines that people were forced to take. And I've been saying, we need to be more compassionate. Let's stop judging. People took what they took for reasons that they took it. We shouldn't be judging them. There are people that have jab regret now. They found out that there are certain elements that might not be best suited to their physical organic biome. They shouldn't be judged. They should be loved. Okay, let's hold on to our brothers and our sisters, because all that's happening is this deliberate divide. Now, we're having a conversation about technology. And there is a fight and a murderous rage happening. Oh my God, they said this. This is my livelihood. What am I going to do? I hate her for saying that. That's human nature. I get it. But it's a game. Because right up here, your Earth military people, your Earth military, they have the most incredible healing technology that was ever created on and off planet. There are factions of your Earth military and your governments. They love it when we fight. They love it. They have all and everything. That's where people should be putting their attention, to the governments, to roll out these medical beds that are already developed, these beautiful, proper healing scalar frequencies that are so rampant everywhere for free. These beds that can regrow limbs, these beds that can help the trauma of our veterans, who the governments threw to slaughter.
Yes.
And they come back and there's no care for them. Are you kidding me? But no, let's not go there, because we're programmed. Oh, your governments love you. Everybody loves you. Pharmacology loves you. The legal system loves you. This is the time. And while we are all accusing people of doing nefarious things, like you and I were reporting on information that we got, what do we do with that? We need to put it out, because we will do no harm. But it's not us that people should be fighting. It's looking at other areas hidden. I'm going to give you all an email to look up, and a website. It is called blackvault.com. Now, you will find a ton of government documents. Now, again, back to terrestrials, for those of you who've never ever heard of the concept, did you know your governments around the world all have treaties and agreements with off-planet personnel? And they're not all fully human. That's all right. Your actual governments, do people know about Solar Warden? Solar Warden is a fleet of craft that sits here just above geostationary orbit. There's the Earth's atmosphere, right there, and then right here, where all the telecoms sit, geostationary orbit, all of our satellites, there is a fleet, a military fleet. Chinese are part of it, the French are part of it, the Germans are part of it, the Americans are part of it. And the American fleet is known as Solar Warden, and they're there protecting our planet. If people can just accept We have off-planet technology, right? We're not waiting for bloody NASA, Lockheed, but we're not waiting for those buggers. We are telling you the truth. It's already in existence. Surely then, if they can go, oh, wow, the American government are flying around, or the military flying around, some really good people, by the way. But there's some really dark, nefarious military factions who are owned by really dark people who do not want us to have this free technology. And this is one of the reasons why Dr. Christiane and I are having this conversation. We're all looking at the wrong people. People are doing the best they can, loving the best they can, and we love you for it. And we know that some of you are victims. You have no idea, you have no concept. We know that, but we are compelled to say the things that we're saying. What else would you like to say, darling?
So you mentioned that one group and how they've kept their influence. So we know, who was the Eisenhower, who was he duped by?
He had a board, an administration board, which all presidents do. They called them the MJ-12. And
Okay.
so what those buggers did is they signed a treaty behind his back, accepting incredible technology that would benefit the elite behind his back. But Eisenhower himself, same as Reagan, same as all of them, there are none. I heard the other day someone saying, oh, Trump has been in touch with extraterrestrials. Of course he has. You know, it's not hidden knowledge. It's only hidden from the masses. There aren't any hierarchical presidents, higher military, who aren't aware of our terrestrial brothers and sisters. But within that, there are some really bad, evil, nefarious greys and reptilians who have done so much harm. So yes,
Right.
we exonerate
and they're not on the planet anymore, as I understand it. They're off planet, but what they do, they're still, I mean, because humans have been their food source and their energy source for so long, even though they're off planet and Solar Warden is making sure they don't come back and all of that, there are still programs here on the earth that we want people to be aware of so that their energy remains with them and is not used. I mean, what are they? I mean, this is way beyond my pay grade, but you must have to know physics to understand that. Well, let me tell you a story from a thing I did in the past. I did a workshop at Mount Shasta, and we had a guy whose name I won't mention, but he was teaching us all about crystals and the consciousness of a crystal. And so it was, it was kind of a wonderful workshop in the shadow of Mount Shasta and all of that stuff. Well, he did some really weird things though. Like, a friend of mine was supposed to pick him up from the airport, and he called her and said he had slept. I won't go into it, but when we left, we found out that he buried a crystal right in the center of a sweat lodge that had been used for 200 years by the natives of that area. So he buried a crystal there.
Wow.
And then we found out that he had programmed all of the crystals that he sold to us so that they were all in a grid going back to him.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah. Now I had bought some really big, expensive ones. Now we had a woman, she's quite dramatic, and she took $350,000 worth of crystals in a tugboat in order to throw them into the ocean to get them out of her, because she had this idea that they were all kind of, nefarious. I didn't. I put mine over the bank where I couldn't see them, prayed, and let Mother Earth heal them for a year. And then my friend Robert Fritchie, who worked with Marcel Vogel of IBM on crystal technology, he said to me, "Oh, you can just reprogram them. It's not an issue."
Yeah.
And so then I brought them back into the house. And it's interesting, when I had a session with Ginny Jimblowski, and you had Ginny on one of your things, she said to me, you have a big crystal. She could just see it. She said, if you could go over there, it's going to help me with the energy of your session that I'm going to do with you. So I realized that crystals they have consciousness, but they're also energy transducers. All right. So here's the thing. The crystal can be programmed for good or for not so good. And this guy had programmed all of the crystals for not so good. So many of the people in our group went home and got sick.
Mm.
And so again, what I want people to know is it's all about intent, and it's all about, and I have a question that, that we could ask the higher up, the Federation of Worlds. Are we capable as humans to override a scalar energy that would be, or any energy put into place by these negative ETs who are off planet but have used recruiters? Okay. Mm-hmm. Would we be able to override that energy with our own quantum field, because we are each very, very powerful?
There's something called the placebo effect, as we know. And as such brilliant, beautiful, higher, we've never been told since babies, maybe by a mum, a dad, a grandma, here and there, we've never been told how majestic and powerful we are, how crystal enhanced we are, our pineal gland, how that works, the beautiful calcite crystals in it, the piezo electricity that naturally comes from it and naturally runs the body. That's why the pineal gland is such a target, because this is our magical portal of travel and spiritual connection and healing of our own bodies. So we've been shut down the whole way. And then let's look at the fluoride thing. I know it's like beating an old horse again, but why do we think systems were put in place to harm and poison the physical body? When the human is running on everything, running on the greatest health, we are our own medical healers, our own med beds. And this is one of the things I really want to kind of get across too. We are putting everything out there. So when you go somewhere, like I've done it, I've gone to, oh my God, sat and done all these different things and healing things, and sat there and get the intention, and oh my God, have I had results. I'm like, oh my God, this really, really works, and then like 6 months later, I'm like, oh dude, I feel so bad. I feel this, I feel that. But that was just my experience with a level. But there are people that happens to. But the point is that it's your mental, emotional frequency going into anything like that too. There is a frequency that comes from your natural electromagnetic field that blends with a healing frequency. If we are totally giving up and not setting intention to raise frequency for our greatest healing, using that tool as a backup or a support system, then we are totally at the victim level of our energy being harnessed and put into a gradient of frequency that goes along with everybody else's. It's like Ghostbusters, like catching the energy, storing the frequency. This is how, again, back to hive mentality, that we create levels of harnessing frequency. We keep it in the same container, and then we have access to the brilliant, beautiful humans, and we can keep harnessing energy from them. This information is thousands and thousands of years old. The beings that do it are thousands. They're ancient. They've been here forever. Some of the people at the highest levels in the planet, some we know as celebrities, some we don't, they're all connected. They are connected, and it's so sad, because honestly, I really truly believe that humans, I'm going to cry, we are so loving at our core. We are beautiful. We have this natural trusting ability.
Yes.
We are at our core, we're sweet, we're loving, we want the best for everyone. We see a baby, we hear the baby laugh or smile, and something happens in us, because that's our natural state. That's that 4D love, and then, like I say, it's you and I. We're friends, and we share information with each other, and we support each other in our work, and we've both taken vows on different levels to do no harm. And so with information that we've been witnessing in different layers and levels of healing, then we have a responsibility, and then whatever happens, happens. However people take the information, they take it. But my
Right.
soul won't rest and your soul won't rest until we even
So
have this
here's what I would
conversation.
say to people. I've got a good barometer for them. Okay. Okay. So I have been listening to Renette Senham interview a guy who talks about it's like putting the electric current back in the soil. And the way that the reason there were all those spires on churches and lightning rods and so on, and those are all connected to copper wires that goes into the earth. And this replenishes the electromagnetic field of the earth, and food grows way more and all of it. It's very exciting. And he said, shows you how you can make one of those antennas with a 8-foot dowel from Lowe's and wrap it with copper wire, stick it in the earth, maybe put a crystal on top of it, and then watch how your garden grows. Now, here's the thing. Your animal, chances are, will want to be around that. So I was doing a earlier podcast with Catherine Edwards, and she said, always watch what your cats want to do, where they want to go. Now, when I first got that giant citrine crystal, my cat always wanted to be on the back of the chair right near that crystal. I have a biomat right near there. The cats, I have to beat the cats to the thing, or I'm not going to be on that for the evening. They love that. The Deems device, I think animals really love that. So, and then there's a sort of 4th generation beamer. The animals love that. I was on one at my friend's in Nashville, and their little dog came over, and this is a skittish dog. He came right over and just laid down on my chest while I was on this thing. So pay attention to what the animals are drawn to, because if they're drawn to it, you know it's good for you. If you have not seen a bunch of pictures on Instagram of a kitty curled up in front of your device, then probably it's not good. I had a friend tell me their little dog was in some kind of a unit, and the dog didn't like it at all. So pay attention to that. And Catherine showed me some EMF protector things that she's got, one for her cell phone, a plate. She puts, as an experiment, she has 5 cats. She put this plate under one of their food bowls. They all wanted to go to that food bowl. So I think this is a wonderful way to check out what's going on, whether it's healthy for you, whether it's not healthy for you, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And the other thing that is confusing, you talked about the placebo effect. So it is confusing because you go, you pay, maybe you travel a long distance to be in someone's med bed. And by the way, everybody, there are all these different types of med beds at this point. And I talked to Alex about it. He's got one he's following. You and I talked about a prototype that is going to be at the October 2023 Galactic and Spiritual Informers Conference, where I will be. And then we're going to have, I've got this blanket that's got palladium in the front and in the back on both sides, and I sleep wrapped in that. That completely takes away EMF frequency. And so there's all kinds of wonderful things that are coming. Like you said, they can be scalar energy, because scalar energy is sort of everywhere.
It's everywhere. It's natural and everything. Yeah.
It's natural. It has to do with how the frequency is set. And my friend Robert Fritchie talked to me about this, because way back he used to work with people who had those Rife frequency devices. And if you get one of the Rifes from the past, you'll see there's a setting, there's a frequency for kidneys, for lung, for liver. Well, what Bob Fritchie taught me is, if one of those is slightly off, like if your lungs are not at that frequency, it can produce disease. And so I'm not a big fan. I would be a big fan if it's the kind, and I think they have those. I haven't seen one, but I've heard of them, where you put toenail clippings, your own, or hair.
That's spooky too. I just did a whole 2 hours with John, the inventor.
Oh, he's wonderful.
Yeah,
Okay.
but I I got sent the whole thing, and I opened it. I'm like, holy God, I can't. This is what I'm very dyslexic. I'm like, and there were wires and this. So I did a really long broadcast on my channel, so people like me can easily figure this out. But yes, that's why they call it a spooky, because it's kind of by location of genetic material, like like a fingernail, for example. And I use the Rife, and it's so sad because his name's Rife. He was murdered because he figured out how to unbalance the cluster of, for those that don't know, the cluster of discordant cells which can become cancerous, like how to attune. Everything is harmonic, everything has its own synthesis, every organ in the body resonates at a harmonic frequency. There are numbers, positive numbers. Some of the scalar weaponry that's used to harvest the souls is a discordant. You can, some of them you can see. Some of them have whatever screens, and you can see, how does it make you feel? Some people are so desperate to heal, and I understand this, that they will ignore, with the feeling and the hope that they can get better, they will ignore how opening themselves up actually makes them feel at first. They're so excited, and there's so many different ways. I think Rife has been horrifically marred, the same as beautiful Nikola Tesla. And Rife is now, there's the next generation is the spooky, which is not the best name. I mean, he's such a nice.
No, I know.
And they work just globally. And that's great technology. But again, everyone to their own. If it feels good for you and you truly, truly are doing it from a place of love for self, not being a victim, not being, I need it, I'm going to die without it. You're absolutely going to live with it. But you've got to come from the right place, the right frequency matching, not giving ourselves away.
It's just like with music. Everyone knows by now that the Nazis changed the concert A to 440 hertz from 432. That is a very slight difference that makes an enormous difference in the physical body. The solfeggio tones, I think the Catholic Church banned those tones from singing because you would go directly to God. And we can't have that. Then you would know how powerful you are. So I think our message tonight to everyone is there are so many different technologies that are coming online, and you're going to have to use your own discernment, because indeed these regressive species did recruit individuals to carry out their agenda. And it's possible that the people carrying out the agenda are innocent and have no idea. Listen, all of the doctors that trained me to do circumcisions, they sat there and they would say, oh, well, babies can't feel it. I'd watch the baby start to scream and the med student faint and say what? You're kidding. But I was also taught, you're going to like this, Dani. We were sewing up an episiotomy, the guys, and he goes, the vagina has no feeling. Honestly.
Yeah, well, like a man would know, or like a woman would know what the end of the penis feels like. And how awful for men, to have it's like we're born perfect. Why would we need to be born and then have a piece of foreskin removed? Where does that come from? It's like,
to me, it's the same
basic questioning.
It is, and that's the basic satanic thing.
Yep. Which is another conversation that people are so resistant to, but you can only do what you can do with what you've got to hopefully do the best you can, do no harm, and if you know something, because it hasn't worked when we've kept quiet, well, let's not tell anyone, let me just take care of my family and my friends, or you'll be all right, the good ship Jerusalem's coming, we're the chosen ones.
Oh my God.
Doesn't work. It is not the beautiful human being honest and cohesive and cognizant of their moral value on this planet to each other. And all the dog ends, all the dark ones, all the liars, the cheaters, the little, YouTube fools, everyone's coming up to the surface. Everyone is being exposed, and rightly so, and then some of those who are just so good, like you, get the worst beatings. And then, someone like you also stands with a 30, 40 year body of actual physical implementation, medical revolution on our planet. There's not many that can say that, Dr. Christiane Northrup, but you can. And people are like, someone else pops up 2 minutes ago and they're like, oh no, this over here, Dr. Christiane, no, come here. And they go over to the next shiny thing,
Yeah.
So to the viewer, again, it is your job, it's your responsibility to stop, shopping around like you're on Amazon, for example, and just focus on the history. What history did someone have? What have they brought? How have they been effective into humanity? And go from there. And again, yeah, you're right, you've got to trust your heart. You've got to, the people who set up themselves to be these new healers, let's say, with new technology, they've really got to ask themselves, was I suspicious? Am I doing this just because I need to make money, want to make money? Did I deliberately ignore my intuition? That is going to be a big one for a lot of people. Did I deliberately ignore my intuition? And this has got nothing to do with me or you. It is about the person watching that has to ask that question. Because again, if you think this is about taking sides, oh my God, that is a brainwashing NK Ultra technique. Let's pick a side. There's no side to pick because it's about the individual. It's about the individual. No matter who you're married to, who you're friends with, there are no sides.
Right. There you have it.
Oh, my love. I know we could go on and on, but let's not. I think that...
Yeah, it's dinner time for me.
I would say again, in closing, and I'll come to you for final words, that when you're looking for iconic healing people, feel, how does this make you feel? And I feel like everyone who is bringing a message today, be brave, be vulnerable, like Dr. Christiane, like me, show your face, stand your ground. Don't hide your voice, your face. Don't hide behind. Be that. If you are benevolent love and you can stand and you can face humanity, then be that. But if you're not, you're going to hide, you're going to, lie. And there's obviously so much nonsense, but the dark plans want everyone to fight with each other. And it is division, division, division. Yet the real darkness sits in all of the governments on our planet and the military factions that are in cahoots with the elite arms that sit above everybody. And if you're right there going, oh my God, conspiracy theorist, New World Order, it was failed. It's a failed system now. It's no longer going to be a New World Order, which is why Dr. Christiane and I are sitting bravely on a channel and talking about these things. But that's certainly where your planet was going. And so many people are going to be saved, and I'm happy for them. I am, Christiane. I'm glad a lot of people won't know what's already taken place in the benevolent honor for their continued existence.
That's right.
So, my darling, final words.
Final words are, I've spent a lifetime of near misses with energy vampires. I know the area up close and personal. I wrote a book called Dodging Energy Vampires. Some of us are born with congenital blindness. We see the potential in so many people that we fail to see where the true darkness is, and we believe we literally cannot accept that darkness and evil, like those regressive species we talked about on the planet who've been parasiting humanity for centuries. We cannot believe that, and our denial continues to protect them. And when the denial is first lifted, like you find out that your husband is having an affair or having sex with your daughter or whatever it is, it's very jarring. It's so much easier on some level to stay asleep. But if you stay asleep, you will never reach the full glorious humanity that is your birthright. Never. And so if Dani and I have made you uncomfortable tonight about some of your choices, that's a good thing. Oysters make pearls by being irritated by the sand. So there we are. Oh, and have the courage to not blame us. Have the courage to say, oh, this triggers me. I need to look further about why that is. Is there an old belief system that I have that needs to be renewed? I've been around birth a lot, and rarely is birth comfortable. Very rarely. Sometimes it is. There's a few orgasmic births, but most of the time it's hard work, and that's why they call it labor. So those are my final words.
Gosh, absolutely. Well, that's just beautiful. Thank you so much. And like you say, if we've made people a little bit triggered and uncomfortable, then good. You know, I say that with love, good, because we don't tend to make a shift or a change without something happening, without our cages getting rattled a little bit. We can't just be, you know, ballet dancing through this whole ascension period. The planet is ascending and upgrading. Therefore, the beings that live in coherence with her are also upgrading and ascending. And within that, there's disruption. And there are systems breaking down. Remember word perfect. And before that, word star. You know, you and I remember that. Word star, word perfect. And then along came Microsoft and all that.
Right. That's
so
right.
It's like it's a reboot and an upgrade. And the old system's desperately trying to hold on. It's trying to harness the energy that it's been living off, because that's what gives it life. And what we're doing is we're putting a light on, like saying, oh, no, be careful, because we need this energy gone so we can keep moving into the light without being harvested, without being trapped. You know what I mean? And also taking responsibility for each individual self instead of blaming everyone else. You know, take your own responsibility. That's it.
That's it. Period.
That's it, girl. Well, Dr. Christiane Northrup, you are a legend. You are loved by many. And thank you so much for coming on the Small But Mighty channel. I love you, and I will see you soon, lady. Yes. And to the viewers out there, again, I am Dani Henderson. I truly am coming from love. And again, people who have, with the best intentions, have gone out and set themselves up, and they really are coming from love. They too are victims. And I send them my love and absolute compassion, truly, deeply. And let's just all keep talking. And remember, don't fight those out there on the front lines. Don't fight. Just look at where the real power is. That is the military factions, the elites that run everything else. Go there. Stop trashing each other, because that's not what this is about. All right. Lots of love, and I'll see you soon.